using these more and more every year, and usually this close to our heads, it's understandable that mobile phones have been the focus of health concerns ever since we started using them. But now, 2 decades on, what's the truth? Are they a health risk? And should we be thinking twice about letting our kids use them at such an early age? David Reed reports.
The International Agency for Research on Cancer has recently reclassified mobile phones. The UN agency has fallen short of saying that mobile phones are definitely hazardous. Instead, they've reclassified mobile phones as possibly carcinogenic. The reclassification was the result of a meeting held here at headquarters in Lyon of the world's leading scientists in the field. They reviewed experimental data from animal research, but also the longest-running research project into the use of mobile phones by brain cancer sufferers.
The strongest evidence in this meeting really came from the studies of cancer in humans, and there was some evidence that there may be an association between the use of mobile cell phones and certain types of brain cancer.
The GSMA, the body representing the interests of the mobile industry, followed up the IARC's findings, saying the IARC classification suggests that a hazard is possible but not likely. And while the GSMA acknowledges that some mobile phone users may be concerned, they said that present safety standards remain valid and there was need for further research. Research into health and mobile phones has been beset with difficulties. We've been using mobiles for a relatively short time, and yet cancers can take decades to develop. It's an area replete with debate. However, most scientists seem to agree about one thing, that if mobiles are hazardous, children may be more vulnerable than the rest of us to their possible ill effects.
If the penetration of the electromagnetic waves goes for 4 centimeters into the brain, 4 centimeters in an adult brain is just the temporal lobe. There are not too many important functions in the temporal lobe. In a child, the more central brain structures are going to be exposed. And in addition, of course, kids have a skull which is thinner, less protective. They have a higher content of water in the brain, so there are many reasons which makes it that they absorb more the same radiations.
European research just published in America's Journal of the National Cancer Institute has concluded children who use mobiles are at no greater risk of developing brain cancer than those who don't. Critics say the research is too short-term and the data it used out of date. Certainly for parents, giving kids mobiles helps to keep tabs on them when they're out and about in a world full of hazards. But if the hazard is the phone itself, then we would be well advised to take precautions. Text rather than talk, hands-free sets, use a landline when there's one to hand, the sort of advice that some would like to see governments and health authorities passing on to consumers in the light of the IARC's new classification for mobile phones. So, after 20 or so years with mobiles, many experts say there's nothing to worry about. The UN says there might be a problem, others believe there definitely is an issue. It's up to us to decide whether to dismiss the warnings or take minor precautions to ensure those thought most vulnerable don't blame us if the most dire predictions do turn out to be correct.
David Reed. Another thing about modern smartphones is many of them don't have physical buttons. So when you're typing emails or text, you have to use the on-screen keyboard with the tiny keys. I don't know about you, but sometimes I really do miss having a full-size physical keyboard to tap away on. Well,